Greetings, this is H.I.M. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right here, sir. H.I.M. said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right here, sir.
Yes, job people, this is Michael Shamai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
African pride, root of all nations, boy. I tried with the lion, the Rastafari. Lion of it tried with lioness like I do. Empress on the front line, we need you. Well, this is Medicine, the steady one, and you are now tuned in to the Lion's Voice Network. What the lion fought for do? Scorch them. Roast and parch them.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
The time has come for lions to tell our own story. Yes, you're listening to Lion's Voice. I is Rasbat hailing from the island of St. Croix. Yeah, I'm bringing to you Rastafari vibes. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Babylon born when Rasta come together. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Because Babylon done when I and I come together. Look how we live together, look how we work together, Oh, Babylon done when Rasta come together. Yeah, like Rastafari, His Majesty and Empress men and blessed. Yeah, man, hailing from St. Croix, Rastafari here.
Aye.
Amen. Empress Manel, and I young science. Oh, you're universally unfold, be told. Blessed love, this is Itege Idama, and it's time for the lioness and the lion's voices to be heard. This is the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give all the powers to chant. Jah give all the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Trent of Steel Pulse. I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
I'm Nana Farika. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story. from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the lion's voice.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Well, great is the Almighty, and greatly to be praised in the city of Haile Selassie I, the mountain of His holiness.
Yeah, from Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, you know, the whole entire continent.
Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, from Accra to Addis Ababa.
Yes, it's beautiful continent, better control, mama.
Very beautiful.
From Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, I smile for Mama.
I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long since I see Mama. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw. We gonna use solar energy, use sanitation to build the ecology. We utilizing green technology. We hailing Haile Selassie first without apology. And then we build the youth them economy. Dismantle Babylon monopoly. We teach the youth them how to live properly. Tell them make sure them got the title for them property.
Yes, this beautiful continent, better control.
iRoots Records, an online shop for reggae and dub vinyl, CDs and Rastafari books. Rastafari owned and operated for over 15 years. We ship worldwide. We have many titles from frontline publications in stock. We have 50 plus Akabeka Midnight titles, which we believe is the most of any shop in the world. Special invite for the Lion Pride. Use code Lion's Voice and save 10% store-wide. If you spend $125 or more, the discount goes up to 15%. Visit us online at www.irootsrecords.com. The time has come. Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Banso, aka the Chazmach Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Voice Live. Welcome to Lion Voice Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Today, this morning, this afternoon, we have a very special guest. We are headed to Malawi to hear the history of Rastafari in Malawi. We have a scholarly guest today. So we're going to go deep. You know, when we bring on the scholars, we love them reasoning. We're going deep today, family. So get your ital breakfast if you're in the West. If you're in the East, all my South Africa, all my Malawi family, get your lunchtime cuisine or whatever you're snacking on and get comfortable, because we are going to have another classic episode. Before I start, let me just big up Queen Mother Moses. Big up yourself, Queen Mother Moses. She was responsible for making this link. and she has been doing some exemplary and pioneering work on the continent with the Global Run movement, assembling Rastafari communities from all across Africa. Next strong, next Saturday to continue our African liberate. I didn't even say it's African Liberation Month here on the Lion Voice Network. This month, May, is African Liberation Month. We're celebrating. We had the African Victory Program with Jerry Small, May 5th, celebrating Ethiopia's triumphant victory over the fascist invasion of Italy and the global West colonial powers. And we also are looking forward to May 25th, which is African Liberation Day, which marks the founding of the Organization of African Unity in the same capital, Addis Ababa, that was liberated May 5th, 1941. So that full circle moment, 32 independent African nations coming together to determine the future of African people. And this month, we are celebrating African Rastafari, Pan-African voices. We're going to be having some more scholarly reasoning, but next Saturday, same time, we will be here with a full panel of the Global Run vibration. We're going to have ones from Guinea. We're going to have ones from South Africa, ones from, Botswana. We're going to have a nice panel. The flyer will drop shortly, so stay tuned for that. And again, we are doing what we have to do to make sure that this thing works and that the global family is connected in these times. We have to big up the technology family, because without this technology, we wouldn't be able to connect over land and sea in this way. Without the Wi-Fi, without the, everyone basically has a studio in their house now where they can broadcast. And we have to be very thankful that we're living in these times where we can experience the power of technology to bring us together so that we can hear from a brethren in Malawi on a Saturday morning. You know what I mean? This is unprecedented and we have to take advantage. But I'm not going to stay too long. Big up Frontline Books. Big up Wally King's Design. Big up all of our sponsors. Big up iRoots Records, our latest sponsor who has joined the ecosystem. Make sure the item support. Get your music from iRoots Records, Rastafari owned business. And again, everything that we're doing now is how do we put the capital through the ecosystem? How do we build ourselves in this Armageddon as we prepare, as we want to have strength and resilience? How do we build our internal economics? We do it by feeding the ecosystem. So my guest today is an author. I'm going to ask everyone to purchase the book. We're going to put up the Amazon link. And I'm going to ask everyone watching this episode to purchase his book, The History of Ras Tafari in Malawi. This is how we build power. If we have 50,000 of the Lion Pride that bought this brethren book, this brethren now would have a budget for the full year. He can, now plan, he can strategize, he can hire other Rastafari people. This is how we're going to liberate ourselves. Every nickel make a muckle. And it only costs the item 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever the product is that the guests have, one-time costs. But if enough of us rise to the occasion, we are changing lives. And that's why we're doing this platform. That's why we are building the Lion Pride. The Lion Pride is to change lives. And let me just big up the Lion Pride, the greatest online community on the planet. If you're new here, if you're watching live, pat yourself on the back. Right now, there's only 12 people watching live, but it's going to grow. But pat yourself on the back, because if you're watching live, you are part of the greatest content comment section on the internet. I'm telling the item, watch the comment section during this episode. Our Lion Pride don't play around. We have all, and it's not all agreeing. It's not a yes man factory. We put points, we put history, we have jokes, we have love, we have meet and greet. Everything is happening in the comment section of a Lion Voice Network video. So big up the comment section. Big up to the greatest community on the planet. I'm biased because I build the community. But big up the Lion Pride. If you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. We are approaching 70,000. The next time we go live, we most likely will be at 70,000 strong. Now tell the item, the might and the power is increasing. So we give thanks to the Almighty for gathering, the great gathering that's happening online, and the item are a part of it. Big up yourselves. And we're only in phase 1 of this revolution. Again, phase 1 is just the gathering. Phase 2, now we are capitalizing and monetizing the system, feeding the ecosystem. We want the item feed the ecosystem. As we feed it, we're gonna change the earth. I tell the item the truth. All right, I'm long-winded. We know that, but it's important. We have to talk, because if we don't talk, we can't manifest. The word is the power. You understand? So we are clear about that. The word is the power. So we use it rightly to build and to change the world and to manifest heaven on earth. That is the mission and the charge that was given to us by His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, the Almighty. Yelim Kadamawi. All right. So my guest today is Dr. Paliani. He is a scholar. He is an author. He is residing in Malawi. He has committed himself to studying the history of the Rastafari movement, and not just the Rastafari movement, but the visit of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I to Malawi. So you know I'm going to be in heaven this episode. So let's give a warm Lion Pride welcome in the chat to our guest, Dr. Paliani. Royal welcome, Dr. Paliani.
Greetings, Brother Kwasi, and
yes, sir.
Our viewers, wherever they are. Yeah, I'm good. And how are you?
I'm giving thanks for life and for strength. It's a great honor to have the eye here. I'm going to just tell the eye that from up front. You know, we're honored by your presence, and we're very excited about this episode. We have a tradition at the Lion Voice Network where we ask our guests to step into the Lion Voice time machine and to take us to the moment of your birth and to give us the origin story of Dr. Paliani. Who is Dr. Paliani? Where was Dr. Paliani born? And how did you come to writing a book on Rastafari?
All right. Many thanks, Dejas much, Kwasi. It is also a great honor for me to be hosted today by the Lion Voice Network. It's a great honor indeed to be with you and to have a conversation about the history of Rastafari in Malawi, and also to have an opportunity to talk about the book that I've just published under the Lost History Foundation. So back to your question, Kwasi, is to say that
yes.
I was born on the 10th of August, 1981, in the city called Blantyre in the southern part of Malawi. And this is the commercial city, the commercial capital city of Malawi. The capital city is Lilongwe, and the commercial hub is Blantyre city. So that's where I was born. And Blantyre, yes. So Blantyre. It's named after one Scottish missionary who was born in Blantyre in Scotland. So when this missionary, David Livingstone, came to Malawi, he toured Malawi, and the other missionaries from Scotland also came in 1860s, and they then named the place Blantyre in honor of Dr. David Livingstone, who was a missionary from Scotland.
Yes.
So that's the little history about the city. So I did my primary school in Blantyre, and secondary school went up north, northern part of Malawi, and then to the University of Malawi, where I did the first the undergrad studies, and then.
All right, hold on, stick a pin. Let's not go too fast. What was it like growing up in the commercial capital? What was school like? What was what was
Okay.
your childhood like in the commercial capital?
Okay, yeah. So I would say to give it a bit of the context, which is also relevant to what we'll be discussing, is that at that time, 1980s coming to early 1990s, we were in the authoritarian, the one-party state. So the atmosphere was that the freedoms that people enjoy in many countries living under democracy, what you call democracy, were not there. So there was no freedom of association. There was no freedom of expression, and you had the one party government, which was controlling everything, and censorship, issues of censorship were rife, and that had an impact as well on formations like Rastafari, which we discuss in the book, that during that time you couldn't have even a congregation of Rastafari because of the nature of the state that we had at that time. So we grew up under the one-party state up to 1992, 93, 94, when there was a transition from the one-party state towards multi-party democracy, which also opened spaces for the emergence of Rastafari as an organized movement in Malawi. So at that time,
hold on, 1 second. Who was the colonial power that controlled Malawi? Let's give a little history of Malawi, because you're talking about one-party state.
Yes.
This is the Lion Voice. We want the history. Give us the whole picture.
Okay, so the Malawi was called Nyasaland up to 1964 when independence came. So just like Jamaica, it was under the British. So the Queen of England was the head of state of the territory called Nyasaland, which later became Malawi in 1964. So from 1891, the territory called Malawi today was under the British. And then the struggle for independence came in, as early as the 1900s, fighting for independence from the British, all the way up to 1964, when the country attained independence from the British.
Okay.
So
where did the term Nyasaland come from? Where does that term come from?
Okay, Nyasaland is coming from the lake, because 1/3 of the territory is occupied by water, and the lake, which is called Lake Malawi today, is consists of 1/3 of the country, right? So when the Europeans, the missionaries, arrived, they came to settle along the lake. So when they asked the indigenous people to say, what is the name of this lake? So the indigenous people in the local language, they would say, this is Nyanja, or Nyasa. Another language, a lake is a Nyanja, or it's a Nyasa. So then, because of that name of the lake, they said, okay, then this territory must be Nyasaland. So Nyasa technically means a lake. So then that's where the name Nyasaland came into being. Yeah.
And is Malawi considered part of the Great Lakes region of Africa?
Come again?
Is it considered part of the Great Lakes of Africa? The Nyasa Lake, you have a lot of lakes in a certain part of Africa. Uganda.
Come again? I didn't get your question. Come again?
No, I'm saying, is it considered part of the Great Lakes of Africa?
Yes.
Region.
The Great Rift Valley. Yes. Malawi is part of that. Yeah. All the way from Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, Lake Malawi. Yeah. It's within the Great Rift Valley. Yes, yes, yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is heaven on earth. I want the people know this is the most beautiful lands. You have white sand beaches in Malawi.
Yes, along the Lake Malawi. So there are beaches there, nice ones, and yeah, fresh water, and also nice, for a lot of visitors from Europe, America. They like the seafood from the lake, yeah, like fish and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. But continue. So, what was your education like under the British rule?
Under the British rule during the colonial era.
Yeah, what was education like? I forget that you're a young man. You're 82.
Yes.
So you
yes.
you came after the independence. But what was education like during the
Yes.
British colonial time, and then what was it like for the I growing up? Was
Okay.
there any change?
Okay. So when the Europeans were arriving, the first ones arrived in 1861. The Arabs were already in the territory from the East Africa, from Asia through the East Africa, were already in the territory and had established the first schools, right, in the mosques that they had set up along close to the lake, So they were teaching reading and writing in Arabic, the reading and writing of the Quran, and some arithmetic to the, indigenous people around there. So when the first European missionaries arrived in 1861, they had found, some schools already set up by the Arabs, and who came to do trade and commerce, right? So some of the earliest missionaries also settled in the territories where the Arabs had established themselves, and there was some slave trade happening there, the East African slave trade, where people were taken from the territory to the coast of the Indian Ocean and to Asia and so on and so forth. So they were fighting against that, the European missionaries, and then they started establishing their own schools, teaching English and reading and writing of the Bible and so on and so forth. So that's how the education, the early education started with the mission, with the Arabs in the mosques, the madrasas, and then the Europeans setting up their own schools and setting up missionaries. And it went on up to, I think, 1920s, 1930s, when the colonial government intervened to begin to, provide education to the indigenous people as government to complement the efforts that the missionaries were doing. So that went on until independence came, 64. The government took over the schools that the colonial government had set up to run them, and the missionaries also continued with their schools, providing education with their schools, the secondary schools, primary schools, and also the same with the Arab Muslims as well. So that's a little background. So in terms of the one-party state, predominantly it was public schools. So we were all going to public schools. Very few private schools that were there for the diplomats, those that were coming from outside the country, expatriates to work in Malawi. So there were very few schools, but predominantly it was public schools. You could go to schools, primary schools, secondary school, public schools, together with the children of the ministers, cabinet ministers, and well-renowned people in the society. But those that were coming from outside the country as diplomats, so they had special schools, private schools, which were providing the curricula, the Cambridge curricula for those that were coming from, like Britain, USA, and so on and so forth. But there were very few schools. But then changing of government in 1994, when we had multi-party democracy, we had the proliferation of, and the economy was opened up in terms of trade, education, and so on and so forth. So you had private players getting in to provide services in health, education, trade, commerce, and so on and so forth. So we had then more private schools in place up to tertiary level, as it is currently. So that would be a little background in terms of the education setup, how it all began and how it was maintained by the post-independent government.
Give thanks, give thanks. So what was it like for the I growing up now, when as a young man in the Malawi schools? What was that like?
Okay, so during that period, our cohort rather, we entered secondary school around the time when there was that transition from the one-party state to democracy. So that is the period of 92, 93, 94, 95, you know. So that's when things were opening up. We had more literature on Pan-Africanism, Rastafari, and knowledge, you know, those space for knowledge, you know, unlike in the past where information knowledge was strictly controlled by the state. And we also had the broadcaster, the only radio station in the country, which was the source of the information, had also begun to open up for more programs, programs to do with education, that would be uplifting to the people. So we, getting into secondary school, finishing primary school, there was that proliferation of literature on various aspects, one of which was on Pan-Africanism, and that's when the Enlightenment began to learn about the outside world. Now that we were free from the authoritarian one-party state, and the consciousness began to take root around that time, and that was also the time when Rastafari emerged on the scene as an organized movement.
Okay, so what was the first recorded imprint of Rastafari in Malawi? What was the first? Well, hold on, stick up in. Before we get there, let's do this right. We're setting it up. If you're watching us live, we have Dr. Paliani. I see the Queen Mother Moses in the comment section. Big up yourself. Lion Pride. Get your questions ready. Othello, Ed, It's El Cid, Stank and Dank, all of you name them. Big up yourself for the facts in the comment section. We're going deep today, family. So get yourself ready. Share the link. Tell the world that we are having the reasoning here at the Lion Voice Network. I want the eye to give us the history of His Imperial Majesty visit. You know, set the groundwork. What was happening within that time? There is a famous photo of His Majesty receiving the spear. All of these things. Give us that history, the relationship of Malawi and Ethiopia, and then we'll go into the history of the Rastafari movement.
Okay. As I explained in the introduction, that Malawi was under the British, and until 1964. So in 1936, as most of the viewers would know, His Imperial Majesty left Addis Ababa on the 5th of May this month, when the Italians invaded Ethiopia, and he stayed in Bath, England, until 1940, when he left to return to Ethiopia. And on the 5th of May this month, 1941, he entered Addis Ababa triumphantly. So amongst the troops that came behind His Imperial Majesty when he entered Addis Ababa on the 5th of May, 1941, were soldiers from Nyasaland, right, which is Malawi. Remember, this was the Allied forces, so the British rallied behind His Imperial Majesty to
Yes.
fight against the Italians. So the British sent troops or
Yes.
picked up soldiers from their territories. So Nyasaland, which is Malawi, was one of the territories where soldiers were picked to go and join His Imperial Majesty and fight for the liberation
Okay.
of Ethiopia. So on the 5th of May, we had
Yes.
soldiers from Nyasaland marching together with His Imperial Majesty to finally liberate
Stick
Ethiopia.
a pin. This is so important because a lot of time when we talk about the British liberated Ethiopia, we have to put this into context because the actual, yes, the generals and the officers, the man them who have them paper and them sit down and them point in different directions, those were British. But the soldiers that did the liberating, that did the fighting were from Kenya, from Malawi, from Uganda,
Zambia.
from Zambia. It was a
Yes.
Pan-African fighting force that liberated Africa. We have to know that, yes, they were under subjugation, colonial rule, but the Most High made it that way. We have to just humble ourselves and know that it was Africa that always liberate Africa. But continue, I love it. Go ahead.
Yes, so that's the connection of Nyasaland or Malawi to the liberation of Ethiopia this month, 1941. So, as a token of thanks, we read that His Imperial Majesty established a scholarship for students from those countries in Africa which had supported the cause of the liberation of Ethiopia to go to Ethiopia and study in the colleges and military academies in Ethiopia. And some of the young Africans, and this we learned from the speech that His Imperial Majesty made in Malawi when he came to say, amongst the students that Ethiopia offered scholarships to study in Ethiopia in the military academies and colleges were young men from Malawi. And we didn't know about this. It came out from His Imperial Majesty himself that we have Africans studying on scholarship offered by Ethiopia, by His Imperial Majesty himself, for young Africans to study in Ethiopia. And amongst those were young men from Ethiopia, as a token of thanks for the support that Africans rendered to Ethiopia during the struggle against the Italians. So Malawi then becomes independent, 6th July 1964. Okay, you want to say something?
No, go ahead. I'm just agreeing.
Yeah, so
agreeing.
With that background, Malawi then becomes independent, 6th July 1964. Hello?
Yes, we hear the eye. 1964 okay. Independence. Continue.
Independence. Yes. So remember, the Queen of England was the head of state, and the Prime Minister was the African, who was Dr. Hastings Kamuzubanda. So Malawi was independent, but still it remained under the British. It was not yet a republic. So the head of state was the Queen of England, and the head of government was the Prime Minister. This a similar setup like Jamaica. So yes. Then after independence, the first head of state to visit the newly independent country called Malawi was His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, who arrived in the country on the 2nd of August, 1965. So from 6th July 1964, after a year and a month, we did not have a head of state from another country to come and visit the country. It was His Imperial Majesty who was the first to visit the country. That was in 1965 to the 4th of August. So it was a great event for the country to be honored by a state visit of another head of state. You know?
Yes.
So Sir Green Jones was a governor representing the Queen of England as a head of government or head of state, and then the head of government was the Prime Minister, Dr. Hastings Kamuzobanda, and they welcomed His Imperial Majesty on the 2nd of August 1965. He was coming from Zambia. Zambia had also just attained independence 24th of October the previous year. So His Imperial Majesty traveled to Zambia for 5 days, and then from Zambia, which is a neighboring country, Malawi and Zambia, they are neighboring countries. Yeah. So from Lusaka, he flew to Blantyre, which is Malawi, for a 3-day visit. So upon arrival from the airport, they drove to town because the airport is a little bit out of town. Then they drove to town and then moved to or proceeded to the capital city of that time, which was Zomba, about 60 kilometers from Blantyre, the northeast of Blantyre. So there, on the same day, in the afternoon, they took a drive, His Imperial Majesty and the Prime Minister, to a mountain plateau, right, which is called Zomba Mountain. It's a mountain plateau, and then they climbed the mountain. They drove into the plateau to a spot where His Imperial Majesty could see the view of the Shire Highlands and the plains. It's a nice view, panoramic view, from that mountain, and that spot was named the Emperor's View. Up to this very moment, it is called the Emperor's View in honor of the visit of His Imperial Majesty in August 1965, and that's where groundations of Rastafari are held up to now. And for those that would plan to come to Malawi, you shouldn't miss a visit to the Emperor's View on the Zomba Mountain Plateau, where His Imperial Majesty set his foot and enjoyed the panoramic view of the Shire Highlands and the Palombe Plains. It's a nice view, and Emperor's View is a place to go for anyone who adores or admires or put in high esteem His Imperial Majesty. So that's the first maybe one of the important aspects to talk about when we discuss the visit of His Imperial Majesty. And then in the evening, they had a discussion, the Prime Minister and His Imperial Majesty. The following day was a public holiday. They visited the tea estate in one of the districts next to Blantyre, the southern part of the country, and also went to a training base for the military. We used to call it the Malawi Young Pioneers, and they had a tour there. They were growing vegetables, rearing, cattle, goats, and all that, and doing some, huge farming and some vocational training. So he had a tour to inspect all that. That was in the morning, and then in the afternoon they had a lunch at a hotel called Rios Hotel in Blantyre, and late in the afternoon they went to the Central Stadium. So you talked about a picture where His Imperial Majesty was, was receiving, that picture. So that was taken at the Central Stadium, which later became the Kamuzu Stadium, and there was a military parade or a youth parade, and military parade was also staged there, and that picture is the coronation of His Imperial Majesty as the great king of Malawi. So the three paramount kings representing the three provinces of Malawi came together and crowned His Imperial Majesty as the great king of Malawi above all the kings in the territory called Malawi. And the one standing with His Imperial Majesty is Inkosi Yamakosi Mbelwa. So from the Ngoni people, those who are familiar with the history of South Africa, you have Shaka Zulu uh, I mean, the Zulu people of South Africa, where Shaka Zulu came from. So we had some people who broke away from the Zulu people of South Africa and trekked to Zimbabwe. Some settled there, Zambia, some settled there, up to Tanzania, some settled there, and others came and settled in Malawi. But originally, migrating from South Africa, from the Zulu people of South Africa. So they still kept the tradition. That's why their names, or the names of the kings, of their kings, are called Inkosi, Yamakosi, which is a Zulu language. Inkosi means king. So it's like a king of kings, Mbelwa. So that one was Inkosi, Yamakosi, or king of kings in the Zulu tradition, which in Malawi we call them the Ngoni people. So he was representing the Ngoni people, or the northern province, and then there were other two kings representing the other two provinces, and leading the coronation was Inkosi Yamakosi Mbelwa, the one standing with His Imperial Majesty, giving him the nokaberry, the shield, and the animal skin hat to signify that you are the king above all of us, the kings of Malawi, and you are the great king of Malawi. So that was the coronation ceremony at the
So stick up in. So when Rastafari people call His Majesty the King of all kings, it's not a lie then. There are some historical facts to back up His Majesty as the King of Kings. Is that what they are saying?
That can be interpreted that way, because here we have the three paramount kings giving homage to His Imperial Majesty to say, here we are the kings representing the country, and we are honoring you as a king above all of us, and you are the great king of Malawi. And that was the title that was given to His Imperial Majesty. So in the travels of His Imperial Majesty, he was receiving awards like doctorate degrees and all those honorary degrees. And for Malawi, it was not an honorary degree that was conferred on His Imperial Majesty, but the title of the great king of the country that was bestowed upon His Imperial Majesty. And that's what the picture is all about.
Give thanks, give thanks. It's such a joy, and it was not just Malawi that gave him those type of honors. When I went to Ghana, to the Ashanti Palace, and I saw His Majesty gave the Asantehene the title of the Lion of Judah, and the Asantehene hail him, as, a mighty king. So all of the royal houses of Africa, let me not say all, I'm being extremist, but many of the royal houses of Africa acknowledge His Majesty as the King of Kings, and acknowledge the role that Ethiopia played in terms of African history. And very important for us as Rastafari to know that when we are hailing His Majesty, you can disagree, but the facts are there above any other faith that I know of. The facts are there that we can say, yes, it's there. There's a basis in lived, and this is why we say true and living I, the true and living I, because it's true and He lived. Now there's a lot around we can disagree, but you see certain facts when you have the highest kings of Malawi coming and giving him these titles. Not him call Malawi and send down $3 million to buy a title. Not him sending his army to go and kill people in Malawi to get a title. But by righteousness, by standing up to aggression, for standing for the global south, this is the name they give it now. Used to call it the third world, Trinity again. But by standing for the peoples of the world, the people them hail him. So every title His Majesty got, it was not bestowed by himself. It was people who gave it unto him based on the work and the life that he lived. Even the title of Almighty that we as Rastafari have given him. You know what I mean? So this is something that is so important for us to just take a moment and appreciate love this history coming from Africa. And then now the Pan-African credential, where His Majesty taking the time and making sure he visits these African countries upon their independence. Same like he came to Jamaica, he was going, making sure. And remember that this is before the age of regular travel by heads of state. His Majesty is the one who created that precedence where heads of state would travel to foreign capitals. In ancient time and in history, this was very rare because of the security risk. It's the Lion of Judah who step out on the world stage and go to everybody capital, east, west, north, and south. And this was done so that we, the generation to come, could see how the world receive him, that his might and his power is not just from him, whether it's Russia, whether it's America, whether it's Asia, whether it's South America. The reception was the same, you know what I mean? The peoples come out on the street, holiday, armies and the militaries parade, gun salute. This was around the entire planet Earth. So I want the item just know that the Earth is the I am and the fullness thereof, the world and I that dwell therein. Now you can disagree, you know, but the facts are there. Continue, my brother. Haile Selassie in Malawi. Continue.
Yeah. So I think that was the climax of the visit. On the second day, the coronation at the Central Stadium, and also his address to the youth after the coronation, after the ceremony. Then he was given a time, or he was requested to address the people of Malawi, and most of those that had converged at the stadium were the young people. So his speech spoke to the young people and encouraging them to say the future of Africa lies on the young people, and he had the confidence that the young people of Malawi will work together with the young people from other African countries in the struggle to liberate the continent of Africa. So that was also an inspiring speech to the young people to take up upon themselves to wage their own struggle in the liberation of Africa. So that was the climax of the visit. And then the following day, which was the 4th of August, he threw out of the country, going to Kenya, and then back to Addis Ababa. So briefly, that would be, a short summary of the visit.
So to clarify, in 1965, August 3rd, there were no Rastafari in Malawi at that time. Is that correct?
It could be correct because we don't have evidence of brethren's of the Rastafari faith being visible at that time. But after the visit, that's when we got stories about Rastafari, brethren's emerging, and then the crackdown that followed to suppress the movement to be underground until when the spaces opened up during the transition from the one-party state to the multi-party state. So 1965, we can say so. We didn't have the visibility of Rastafari as a movement on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the first recorded or first known Rastafari presence in Malawi as the movement now after the emperor? What year can we date it to?
Okay. All right. So here's an interesting story to say 65 we didn't have the one-party state yet officially. So the country became officially the one-party state in 1966. That is a year later, 6th July 1966. Malawi became a republic, meaning it was no longer under the British monarch, and the prime minister became the president on 6 July 1966. And the president meant that he was the head of state, at the same time the head of government. So it was no longer under the British monarch, but we still had that title of the great king of Malawi, which was bestowed on His Imperial Majesty the previous year. But then the British monarch is to be the head of state. So immediately the one-party state officially came into play, and it was an authoritarian one-party state. So what it meant was that Dr. Kamuzbanda, who was the president, head of state and head of government from 1966, was because of circumstances that had happened in 1964, soon after independence. Just to give a brief before I came there, so that you understand the context, because it has a connection to Rastafari as an organized movement.
Yes. Take your time, King. This is Lion Voice. Take your time.
All right. So 1964, 6 July, independence. Barely 2 months after independence, there was a rift between the prime minister and his cabinet ministers, right? They had disagreed on quite a number of policy issues, right? Yeah. One of which was on foreign policy, to say Malawi or Nyasaland then, which was under the British, struggling for independence. Other countries like Ethiopia, Ghana, which were already independent, were, supporting the struggle for independence in Nyasaland, which was Malawi, financially and materially and otherwise, right? So it was then the expectation of the people that once we become independent ourselves, we should also render the same service or the same support to brothers and sisters still struggling for their independence elsewhere in the continent, right? So that was the spirit. Okay. Now, 1963, Malawi became what is called self-government, meaning it was not really independent, but there was some semi-independence, so to speak.
Yes.
Because the Malawi Congress Party had won the elections in 1961, and then the party formed government. This was the party led by Africans. Dr. Kamuzbanda was the head of the party, the leader of the party. The party formed government from 1961. So 63, it was like, more or less like independence, but not really fully fledged independence.
What was the ethnicity of Banda, President Banda? Was he
African, Malawian? Yes, indigenous Malawian. Yeah, okay. But he had stayed for 40 years in the United States and UK for studies and all that, and then he was called to come and lead the struggle from 1958. When he came back to the country after 40 years staying abroad. So when 63, the head of government, Dr. Kamuzbanda, just before independence, he started, gravitating towards fraternizing with the colonial regimes in South Africa, apartheid, Southern Rhodesia government, the colonial government there, and Mozambique, the Portuguese, right? So it was like Nyasaland, which was slowly becoming independent, was beginning to, turn against the liberation movements in South Africa, fighting against apartheid, Southern Rhodesia, which is Zimbabwe today, fighting against the colonial regime there, and in Mozambique, fighting against the Portuguese in Mozambique, right? Because at government level, Dr. Kamuzbanda was dragging the government to fraternize more with the colonial regimes in these countries. So this did not go down well with his cabinet ministers to say, but look, countries like Ghana, Ethiopia gave us the support, and now we are at the verge of independence. We are supposed to be rendering the same support to the liberation movement elsewhere in the continent, not gravitating towards the colonial regimes that were suppressing our African brothers and sisters in South Africa, Southern Rhodesia, which is Zimbabwe and Mozambique, and elsewhere. So Dr. Banda did not take that kindly. So independence, 6 July 1964, 2 months after that, there was that rift, or there was that breakup between Dr. Banda and the cabinet ministers, because they presented the issues to him, amongst the other issues, to do with his style of leadership, which was more authoritarian and so on and so forth. They raised the question of the foreign policy to say we are being unfair to the cause of Pan-Africanism. As an independent country, we invite the colonial regimes to be represented on the Independence Day of our country, and none of the leaders of the liberation movements came to witness our independence. What does it mean for the cause of Pan-Africanism, and also our foreign policy of showing our back against the liberation movements and fraternizing more and more with apartheid South Africa, when the rest of the continent through the OAU had resolved to boycott South Africa and render more support to the liberation movements through the Liberation Committee of the OAU. So we were, like Malawi had isolated itself from the resolutions of the OAU and from the rest of Africa. So His Imperial Majesty came at the time when our foreign policy was going the other way. So one of the issues that His Imperial Majesty came to discuss with Dr. Banda was the question of liberation of apartheid South Africa, Southern Rhodesia, and Mozambique. And Ethiopia was on the forefront of supporting the liberation of these territories, whereas Malawi under Dr. Kamuzu Banda had taken a stance to fraternize with the colonial regimes in these territories. And the cabinet had broken up, and some of the ministers who were standing against Dr. Kamuzu Banda had been paged out of government. By the time His Imperial Majesty came, most of them were in exile because they had differed with Dr. Kamuzu Banda. So with that context, when Malawi became the one-party state, to avoid another rebellion, against Dr. Kamuzu Banda, the laws were changed, to consolidate the power on Dr. Banda himself, because he knew that another rebellion like what came in 1964, which is popularly known as the cabinet crisis of 1964, might arise again. So to avoid that, he took certain measures through the law policies to consolidate power on himself. And one of the measures was to make himself as a demigod, so to speak, right? So everything centered around him. You had to praise him as a demigod. So it would be a taboo for someone to glorify His Imperial Majesty as a deity or as a god besides Dr. Kamuzu Banda. Because even anyone who had taken part in the struggle for independence, now we are talking about these cabinet ministers who had deferred or who had rebelled against Dr. Kamuzu Banda and had been paged out and forced to exile. You couldn't talk about them as heroes of the liberation struggle. It was a taboo to talk about such characters as heroes. So you couldn't talk about His Imperial Majesty as a deity or glorify him. So if you are glorifying anyone, it must be Dr. Kamuzu Banda,
must be
and
Banda.
only him, and no one else.
So who was pulling the strings for Dr. Banda? Because we know neo-colonialism. Where was he getting his funds from? Who was the puppet master?
Apartheid South Africa was a significant ally of Dr. Kamuzu Banda. Actually, in the whole continent of Africa, the best ally of the apartheid government was Malawi. And Malawi was the only country which had got diplomatic ties with apartheid South Africa. There was an ambassador from apartheid South Africa in Malawi, and Malawi also had an embassy in Pretoria from 1971, thereabout. When the rest of Africa had boycotted South Africa, there were diplomatic ties between Malawi and South Africa, which was what the cabinet ministers in 1964, amongst other issues, protested against. You get the point?
Yes.
Over to you. Yeah. So that's how then Rastafari would be suppressed, because for you to emerge and be talking about His Imperial Majesty in a special way, it would be like a taboo. You'd be arrested. And even the question of dreadlocks, there was a law that would not allow men to keep hairs longer than your ears. So you had to comb your hair, and the hairs that would come to the beyond your ears, that would be against the law. So you come to Malawi with your long hairs. If you are a man, they'll give you a shave at the airport, at the border, right? To say, if you want to enter the country, shave your head or go back. So with that, you wouldn't have brethren, talking about His Imperial Majesty as a messiah, because the only messiah for the country was Dr. Banda. So you couldn't have brethren growing locks, because it was criminalized to grow locks or to keep your hair that would come to cover longer to cover your ears. So that is how the suppression came about. And also the question of Pan-Africanism was also suppressed. Even books, right, books on Pan-Africanism, like some books written by Kwame Nkrumah, some Black consciousness literature, they were banned by the state because they didn't want you to know about Black consciousness, Pan-Africanism, and then you become to challenge the Malawi's foreign policy, fraternizing with apartheid South Africa when the rest of Africa had boycotted South Africa. So literature would be scarce on Pan-Africanism and Rastafari, so to speak. And even at the university, terms like socialism, communism, Che Guevara, you couldn't talk about those, terminologies, even in the corridors of the university. Those were, terms that would land you into trouble. And some literature on Pan-Africanism as well, you are found in possession of some literature written by Kwame Nkrumah, the great Pan-Africanist, you'd be arrested and so on and so forth. So in that kind of an environment, Rastafari was suppressed as a movement. But there were individuals in the underground who would trod Rastafari, but they could not come in the open to congregate, meet with others to say we are Rastafarians and we glorify His Imperial Majesty and we stand for this, for the fear of suppression and persecution by the state. So
what was the first? Who was the first? Who was the first acknowledged Rastafari? Who are some of the elders in the early days? Do you know any names?
Difficult to say. We tried to search and search. We couldn't locate to say this should be the first, but there's evidence that in the 1970s, there were Rastafarians in the underground, right, who were operating underground, fearing suppression and persecution. But coming to the 1980s, we can then identify individuals who emerged as Rastafarians in their as individuals, not as part of the congregation. From 1980s, we can isolate individuals as Rastafarians who can be traced as early as the mid 1980s, some of whom are still alive today. So if we are to mention names, then we can mention names that emerged in the 1980s.
In the
as
1980s, okay.
Yeah, as Rastafarians.
So,
and some, yeah.
Was reggae music a big factor in Malawi in spreading the movement?
Absolutely. There's also an interesting story captured in the book about reggae music to say, amidst the suppression of information literature on Pan-Africanism and Rastafari, right, through censorship and all that, the reggae music became the avenue or a vehicle through which some youths could grasp, the teachings of His Imperial Majesty Marcus Garvey, Pan-Africanism, Rastafari, and so on and so forth. But even though that was the case, the sole broadcaster, the Malawi Broadcasting Corporation, the radio station, which was the only radio station in the country, and the country had no TV station. So when the rest of Africa, even the neighboring countries, Mozambique, Tanzania, Zambia, they had TV stations from the 1970s, others from 1960s, all the way to the 1980s. Malawi only had a TV station in 1999, right? So you can see access to information and exposure to events and developments elsewhere was limited. So against that backdrop, the radio station did not even have a special program for reggae music, right? And even the reggae music that was being played on the radio station was that which could not stir, people, or which was not politically sensitive, right? Like Equal Rights by, Peter Tosh. Songs like those ones could not be played on the radio station, right? Songs like, Burning and Looting, Bob Marley, lyrics like those ones would be considered as subversive, so they could not be played on the radio station, right? Only those that would be talking about, love, and one love, those would be songs that could be played on the radio station. But Equal Rights and Justice, Stand Up and Fight for Your Rights, Ban and Loot, Get Up, Stand Up, those kind of lyrics were no on the radio station. But there were underground channels through which such kind of radical lyrics, reggae music with the radical lyrics that would be considered politically sensitive by the national broadcaster could circulate in the country. And that's how reggae music played a role to ignite that black consciousness and the radicalism amongst the youth. A good example could be given of one professor who came from the United States, Professor Baggy. So Professor Baggy was a psychologist, and he first came to Zambia to teach at the University of Zambia, and then he was deported in 1980. And when he was deported in 1980 by the government of Zambia, he came to Malawi, and he joined the University of Malawi in 1980. And he was the founder of the Department of Psychology at the University of Malawi, and he became the head of the Department of Psychology at the University of Malawi. So he was, he had a huge collection of reggae music, So this was the uncensored reggae music, uh, which would not be played on the radio station. So what he would do at the university after teaching and all that, he would duplicate, the music through the radio cassettes, and then distribute the music in Zomba, where the University of Malawi had the main campus where he was working. And then you had youths across the country in secondary schools who would be sending radio cassette, blank tapes, to him through their friends when they were going for holidays from the boarding schools, like secondary schools. So some youths would give their friends from Zomba, where Professor Baggy was based, blank tapes, and the friends would take the tapes to the professor to record the reggae music in the tapes. So he had access of reggae music from Jamaica, United States, whenever he went for holidays in the United States. So you just list down the artists that you would want to have, and then get the blank tapes and send them to the university, to the professor, with a little fee, of course. Then he would produce the music and send it back to you. So that was the most popular underground network through which uncensored reggae music would be circulated, distributed across the country through the youths. And that's how some of the youths now got exposed to reggae music with the radical lyrics: get up and stand up, fight for your rights, His Imperial Majesty, Selassie is the chapel. These would be the songs which could not be played on the national broadcaster. So that is 1980 to 1989, when for 9 years or almost 10 years, when the professor was deported from Malawi, because he was found or he was suspected to be a CIA agent, who had been in the country to stir a revolution in the country. So it was just a suspicion, and then the government decided to deport him after staying for 9 years. So these 9 years, that's what Professor Baggy was doing, and he assisted to spread the message of reggae music through the underground network that was operating, duplicating the the cassettes, tapes, which had the uncensored reggae music that found its way. And it was popular even up to the 1990s, early 1990s. When you move around in the locations amongst the youths, you would come across reggae music that originally came from Professor Baggy from the University of Malawi, still circulating amongst the youths up to around 1992, 93, 94, way after Professor Baggy left the country. So in the book, we have also acknowledged him as someone who contributed to the rising of Rastafari consciousness through importing reggae music uncensored, and then duplicating the music through the radio cassettes, and then distributing it amongst the youths in Zomba, where he was based, and other places, especially amongst the young people in schools. Yeah, so that's how I can respond to your question. I think I can stop there.
Yes, no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think the important thing is that this is coming out of the university. So we see the role that universities play, our professors play in spreading the knowledge and the wise mind. Before we continue, I'm gonna bring up the Amazon link. This is Dr. Paliani. He has written a book that we want the Lion Pride to support. So if we love this beautiful gathering. Can everyone see the screen? So the item can see here. Rastafari movement in Malawi from one party state era and beyond. It's $34.99. This is where the one Mecca Mocca philosophy comes in. This is where the one cocoa full basket philosophy comes in. We're asking, if you're watching, to purchase this book, support the author. If we can get 50,000 people to watch this video and to buy this book, this will help to change Dr. Paliani's life. And I tell you, right away, his whole life will be changed right there.
Yeah.
We have that power as a community. And this is what I want us to realize. We love Dr. Paliani. We love the message. We love the history. Why not change his life so that he can do more of this? He can write more books. He can do more works. So this is what the Lion Voice Network movement is all about. Economic empowerment, in addition to assembling the gathering. And let me say, Ras Tafari movement in Malawi, it will come up, the link, support. And let me say, also, a warm Lion Voice Network welcome. We have the principal of Haile Selassie High School in the comment section, watching from Jamaica. So when we say that our comment section is the greatest comment section on the planet Earth, I want the people to know we're not just running our mouth. Yes, I'm biased because it's my comment section. I'm transparent with that, I'm biased. But I have to declare it the greatest comment section on the planet. The principal of Haile Selassie High School here, royal greeting to the Lion Voice Network. Big up, I see Queen Mother Moses working extra time, sending out the links and the messages. Big up yourself, Queen Mother Moses. All of the Rastafari in the Global Run initiative, which is seeking to connect Africans for trade and commerce across the African continent, African Rastafari communities. Big up to the Global Run. We're going to be doing a lot of work with the Global Run here. Myself and Queen Mother Moses will be hosting a panel next Saturday, same time, with some of the members of the Global Run movement. Stay tuned for that panel. We want to increase our commerce. So economic liberation, that is what the focus is in this time. You can support the Lion Voice Network by becoming a member of our Patreon, our monthly subscriber network. We're still not hitting 50 people, and we're about to hit 70,000 subscribers. So we got to change our mindset. I know that probably I'm an obstacle because some of the items don't like I, but it's okay. You can support the platform. And if you don't like I to that extent, support the guests. You know what I mean? Support the guests. It's fine. But we need to get active right now. We cannot sit on the sideline. We're not going to build the world that we want to see without capital. And we don't have the capital individually to make that major impact. But a collective of 50,000 people working in unison or 70,000 people working in unison can change the world. I guarantee the item that we can change the world. We have that power, not anybody else. I'm not talking to the people who are not subscribers to the platform now, I'm talking to the Lion Pride. And if you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. So I'm not talking to the casual viewer here. I'm talking about the people who are already on board with what we're doing. We can change the world. We can change the lives of our guests. We can empower and feed our ecosystem so that we are better prepared to deal with what's coming, which is a global collapse of the economic order as they reinstitute a new order that may not, well, definitely will not benefit I and I, because we are not at the table deciding about this order that is emerging and that they are seeking to institute. Africans were not at the table at the building of this order. So we have to separate and we have to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And we do that by the Mikkel Mecca Moko. Spend the $35 and get Dr. Paliani. Let's get him 10,000 sales. Why can't we do that? even 5,000, Dr. Paliani would smile, you know what I mean, if you wake up tomorrow with 5,000 sales. You make Dr. Paliani day right there, so you know. So we have that power here, and I want the item to know that as we see these guests, as we hold a collective joy, we also have the power to change lives. So I just want to say that before we continue with the programming. We have here Dr. Paliani. And let me ask the eye, does the eye identify as Rastafari, Dr. Paliani?
Rastafari for sure.
Okay, because, you know, sometimes people hear you don't have to be dread to be Rasta. And a lot of people say it's not true, but I want the item to know a lot of our Rastafari brothers in Africa don't have locks, but they are Rastafari in their heart. And we come to show this at the Lion Voice Network. We have, and that's why you can't really count the movement. We have millions of Rastafari globally. Some of them are just incognito. You can't see them at a first glance, but they are there. And this is why we want to rally the strength, the economic strength. No one has harnessed our own economic power. That is one of the mission that we have here on the Lion Voice Network, to demonstrate to ourselves. This channel is not for the, yes, we give thanks for the global family to tune in, but this is for the root. I always say that I built this channel to feed the root of the movement. This is not the branch. We give thanks for the branches, we give thanks for the fruits. This is to feed the root, the Pan-African root, black, you know what I mean, unapologetic root of Rastafari. And we have to demonstrate to ourselves the power that we hold collectively. So let us use that economic power. If 100 people today purchase the book, I would be happy. I'm going to follow up with Dr. Paliani to find out how many purchases he gets after this interview. So we're testing the machine, you know. So don't feel like we're just watching and we're not acting. Let us purchase the book. It's a powerful, powerful book. All right, Dr. Paliani, what was your journey to Rastafari? How did you become, was it through the music, or how did you, as a young brethren from Malawi, decide to embark on this lifestyle?
Okay, as I mentioned in the introduction, that we had, that was the time when everything was opening up, 94, 95, during the transition. So more content on the radio station in terms of playing reggae music. We had the first program playing dedicated to reggae music on the radio, on a radio station that was broadcasting in the country. 1993, amidst the transition from the one-party state, we had a 30-minute program that was coming in the evening every Sunday. So that also assisted in raising Rastafari consciousness, and then the opening up of the country to literature and all the literature that was banned. There was a reversal of the censorship, so more books, literature on Pan-Africanism, Black consciousness started to come into play. So, but not much, but at least better than before. So there emerged during that period, 92 to 95. That's when the first two congregations of Rastafari emerged for the first time in the country, when now there was freedom of expression, freedom of association. Then the two congregations emerged, and that also played a positive role to, help in the raising of the consciousness of Rastafari in the country. So 1991, not 1991, 1995, I went to start Form 1. That is the first year of secondary school education at a school called Crazy Boys Secondary School. That is up north, 1995. And then I found, or I get to know one of the senior students who was doing the third year of secondary school at that school, because it's 4 years, first 4 years of secondary school. So I was getting into the first year, and then the brethren was in the third year. His name was Matthews, right? So that was 1995, and so he had been exposed to the Rastafari consciousness from Planta when the first two congregations emerged, when he was going to begin his first year. I think he started his first year of secondary school should be 1992, right? So he was already, up there in terms of Rastafari consciousness. So we were coming from the same city, and now I had also begun to show some interest in Pan-Africanism and gravitating towards that and talking to him at school, and that's when I began to learn more about Rastafari, Pan-Africanism, and he had literature as well that you could share. So I would say the first time for me to be exposed through literature to Rastafari consciousness would be through Ras Matthews, a brethren that I met at the secondary school when he joined the school for the first year, and he was in the third year. So we kept in touch until we finished his fourth year. That was when I was in the second year of secondary school. When we came back for holiday, because he had finished, so I would still get in touch with him to learn more, and he had more literature. The consciousness was rising, and until when I also finished the secondary school 1999, then went home. I still got in touch with him, and he assisted quite a lot in the literature. And the consciousness rose up to higher levels until when I was getting into the university. So I would say he was, a brethren that I would never forget. And actually the book is also dedicated or dedicated, if you can put it that way, to him. He's no longer with us in flesh, but of course in spirit, we are still together. And I'm greatly indebted to Ras Matthews for the knowledge that he shared. Very humble Rasta man, and very resourceful. And I know that if he was around, you'd be excited to get a copy of the book. Yeah, so I think that would be the journey. So I also met other brethren. We had some work with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and we worked together to facilitate the coming of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church to Malawi. This year, the first service of the Orthodox Church took place in the country, but it has been a journey of about 15 years or so, from early 2000, working with the brethren who had also had an inclination towards the Orthodox Church. That would be how the Rastafari consciousness came into play. And also then we have also been working together with the other brethren and sisters in contributing towards the growth and development of the African spirituality, so to speak, as one of the avenues or vehicles to raise the consciousness of the Africans in Malawi, who for a long time had been trapped or captured by the Western Western forms of, will it call it spirituality or denominations, especially those that came with the missionaries from Europe and also the Arabs. So one way of counter, attacking that wave was to advance Pan-Africanism and anything that speaks to Pan-Africanism, including the propagation of African spirituality as a tool to counter the onslaught of European missionaries that came and disrupted the ways of life of the indigenous people and imposed upon them their ways of worship, which is Western Christianity, and the same story with the Arabs, who also brought in Islam, which was not there before. People had their own ways of worshiping and praising the Creator and connecting with the Creator and creation before the Arabs came with the Islam and the Europeans came with their Christianity. So we are also in a project of resuscitating those aspects of African spirituality, like the shrines where our ancestors used to converge or used to communicate with the ancestors, with the Creator through the ancestors, and so on and so forth, which were on the verge of extinction in the country. So that is also part of our heritage, part of our story, that also needs to be documented as the African story. So that's how I can put it in a little bit of the background, and also what I and other brethren and sisters are involved in as projects towards the liberation of the continent of Africa, spiritually and otherwise.
And that is the mission right now as we speak. I have a question about a brethren. One of my elders is the ancient Nyasaland Burhan. You see her in the introduction of this program, one of the final seal. This is one of our Asians, and one of the time I went to visit her, I met a Ras at her residence, and he went by the name of Junior Manning, also known as Easter J. And this was the first brethren I ever heard talk about Malawi.
No, I can't get you. If you can repeat the question.
Okay, so
if you can
you hear me?
The question, I can't get you clearly. I think the network is.
Can you hear me?
It's not stable.
Yes, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Kwasi, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear the eye. Can the eye hear I? Isis, check.
Kwasi, can you hear me?
I hear the eye. Okay. Wi-Fi, the guy is here with us. We were getting too high up in the heights. The Lion Pride family know when we get up in the heights, Wi-Fi and the guy always want to come in and interfere. If you can hear me, put an emoji in the comments. If you're loving the content, put an emoji in the comments. Greetings.
Sorry, Kwasi, I couldn't get you.
Yes.
I lost the connection, but
yes.
I understand.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you, but there was a question. So I missed the question. Come again.
Okay, yes. No, I was asking you. I was saying I met a brethren named Junior Mannings, Easter J, who was the first person I ever heard talk about Malawi. And I, became a brethren to this brethren, and I and the brethren used to reason before he transitioned to the ancestral realm. Are you familiar with this brethren, and what was his role in Rastafari in Malawi?
Easter J is, I would say, he's part of the story. And we have also captured his role in the book. And he's one of those people from outside Malawi who played a significant role in the growth of Rastafari as an organized movement in Malawi. Ister J first came to Malawi in 1997, right? 1997, there was, okay, can you hear me, Kwasi? Can you hear me? Hello, Kwasi?
Yes, I hear the eye. I hear the eye. Okay, family. Wi-Fi, the guy is creating some issues, but we're gonna get through it. We have Dr. Paliani here from Malawi. This is what we're doing with the technology.
Yeah. I think
Yes, yeah, I can hear.
yes, I can hear you. I think I clicked on the wrong button and then it took me out of
Yes,
the.
no problem, no problem. Continue the history of Ister J.
Ister J, yes, I was talking about Ister J. He first came to Malawi in 1997.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's another interesting story on the growth of Rastafari in the country. Because okay, the journey started in 1996, right? So in 1996, around July, yes, for the 8th day of His Imperial Majesty, there was a gathering, an international gathering in Ethiopia. I think, if I'm not wrong, it was held in Shashamane, 1996, for the 8th day of His Imperial Majesty. So we are talking about July, up to end of July,
Yes,
1996.
yes.
So brethren from Jamaica, England, and many other places flew to Ethiopia for the international gathering for the 8th day of His Imperial Majesty. So when they were leaving, flying out after the gathering, they boarded the Ethiopian airline, flight, Addis, London. So Ister J was one of the passengers in this flight. So then there was a gentleman coming from Malawi, right? He was a son of a minister, a cabinet minister in the new government of Malawi, which had took over from the one-party state, which ended in 93, and then we had elections 94. New government under Mati Party came in. So one of the cabinet ministers was a man called Harry Thompson. He was a minister of health. So his son was living in Malawi and also England. So Harry Thompson, the minister, was a prominent businessman in the country, one of the top business people in the country. So his son, Oscar Thompson, was flying from Malawi to England, right, where he was working in the radio, some sort of entertainment industry. He was returning after, I think he was on holiday. He came to see his parents and family, and then he was flying back. So Ethiopian Airlines had a flight from Malawi, Addis, and then you connect to England. So when he was connecting, these brethren's elders are coming into the flight. So he sat next to Ister J, right? He's coming from Malawi, Oscar. Ister J is coming from the gathering for the 8th day of His Imperial Majesty, July 1996. So they were together in the plane, and then they started talking. From Malawi, okay, we had a gathering in Addis, in Ethiopia, whether it was in Addis or Shashamane, I'm not sure. Then he talked about his work in the entertainment industry, in the radio in UK, where he was returning. So Ister J became interested in the radio business. Previously, Ister J had been in conversation with one of prominent business entrepreneurs, I would say, in England, from Jamaica, Bobby Morgan, right? So they had talked about, Bobby Morgan was also in the entertainment industry, entrepreneur and all that, and he had discussed with Ister J on the need to set up radio stations in in Africa to promote Rastafari consciousness and so on and so forth. So then Ister J was pleased to be next to someone who was also in the radio business, but in UK, with roots from Malawi, which had just transitioned from the one-party state.
Okay.
So they talked about opening up about the radio station. You know, at that time we didn't have a privately owned radio station in Malawi. It was Ister J arrived in England. He told Oscar to say, "No, I've got a friend, Bob Morgan. He would be interested to work with you, you know, to set up a radio station, the first privately owned radio station in Malawi, where you'd be promoting Rastafari consciousness, Pan-Africanism, and so on and so forth." So Oscar jumped into the idea, and indeed, when they arrived in England, they connected with Bob Morgan, and very quickly, Bob Morgan was also organizing a concert in Addis Ababa. It was called Reggae Unite Africa, where he would invite reggae artists to perform. So he then talked with Oscar to say, we can have the same concert in Malawi as we are working towards establishing the radio station. And indeed, they brought the concert to Malawi after Addis in March 1997. November, 1st of November, they had a reggae concert, the first of its kind in Malawi, in Blantyre, on the 1st of November 1997. 5 top reggae artists from Jamaica came to perform in Malawi under the coordination of Bob Morgan, and Ister J came with the crew during that tour. So there was Junior Delgado, Chris Inti, who else? Aquila Tafari, is it Aquila, something like that, you know? There were 5, you know, artists from Jamaica who came to perform for the concert. So that was 1st November 97. Then 2nd of November, they went to Zomba Mountain Plateau, Emperor's View, where they had a groundation and visited the place and all that, meditation, you know, and some, you know, prayers and all that, and then had the last show in the capital city. Then the artists went back, but Ister J remained to assist in the growth of Rastafari as an organized movement in the country. So he played a significant role in, you know, with regards to Nyabingi guidelines, Nyabingi chants, and also sharing with the brethren's, you know, the knowledge about Nyabingi as a mansion of Rastafari. That was 97, and then after 3 months later, he went back to England, then to Jamaica, and then he came back to stay for a while. Yeah, so we would say that that concert, 97, you get some brethren who testify that they began their Rastafari trod when the 5 artists from Jamaica came to perform in Malawi, 1997, and indeed, the first congregation of Rastafari, Nyabingi, to be established in the capital city, Lilongwe. It was in 1998, following this concert, which also happened in the capital city. So ahead of the concert, that's when brethren mobilized themselves to say, there are some Jamaicans who are coming, some elders who are coming, let's converge and see how we are going to host them, and so on and so forth. And that marked the beginning of the Nyabingi congregation in the capital city of Malawi, Lilongwe, soon after the concert. That would be early 1998. So Ister J remained, went, and then came back. And then 1998, the first privately owned radio station was established Power 101 FM, right?
Okay.
Owned by Ras Bob Morgan, together with, as a partnership with Oscar Thompson, the son of the cabinet minister. So
Okay.
that was one of the vehicles through which Rastafari consciousness would be channeled through Pan-Africanism, and quite a number of brethren would testify to say Power 101 FM, Malawi, not the one in Jamaica, but we had Power 101 FM, Malawi, would be their first point of call when it came to Rastafari consciousness, or the avenue through which they became to learn about Rastafari, Pan-Africanism, and so on and so forth. So that's how Ras Bob Morgan from Jamaica, Easter J from Jamaica, they played a role in propagating Rastafari consciousness in Malawi through the concert Reggae Unite Africa 1997, and through the first privately owned radio station 101 FM. Yeah, so that would be a little bit more about Easter J, and also the role that he played when there were no priests for Rastafari, Naya Bingi. Easter J assisted in terms of,
Administrating
sharing.
the episode, yes.
And also who would be the
is
priest.
Ras Bob Morgan still alive? Is he still alive?
Yes, yes. Still,
where is
he? I'm not sure where he is now, but he's all over. He's England, Jamaica, USA, but I don't know where he is. But we're in contact. Even the
Please,
book.
I need to interview that brethren. So please,
I'll give you the number.
Yes,
I'll
please.
talk to him, and I'll also give you the number.
Please.
You contact him, and you can have a conversation to build on what.
Okay, Wi-Fi the guy again. We are working through, but we cup is full. The cup is full. Before we seal up, this is just part one, family. I just want the item to get used to Dr. Paliani. He is now part of the Lion Voice family. So we're going to have Dr. Paliani return for sure. Dr. Paliani, who are some of the Malawian-born Rastafari elders that the global family should know about? Who are some of the Malawian-born? Yes, can you hear I? Isis?
Kwasi.
Isis. We're working through the technical difficulties. This is history. Remember, if you're watching live, you're witnessing history. Never before have we traversed land and sea to bring together the movement in this way. This is historical occurrences that the item are watching in real time. So sometimes the Wi-Fi don't work. We don't have the Rastafari Starlink yet. So we're working on other people's network. We're working on YouTube. We don't own YouTube. We don't own Starlink. We don't own satellites, but we're getting there. We're working in that direction. And this is why, again, I want I to realize the power of the one cocoa full basket, ancient African philosophy. Together we are mighty. One finger you can broke it easy. When you take that fingers and you have 5 fingers and you put that 5 fingers in a fist, it's hard to broke. And as a matter of fact, you can strike and cause damage. So we have power together as the Lion Pride, the global Lion Pride. I always emphasize Lion Pride is not a local movement. We are global, but we must harness our power. We must harness our strength. We must come together. I do have to make a trod. My daughter graduated from high school this weekend, and I have family in town, so we're going to just let Dr. Paliani say some final sounds, and then we're gonna still part one of this historic connection. Please go to Amazon and purchase this book, Rastafari Movement in Malawi from One Party State Era and Beyond. Dr. Paliani Chingu Chinguwu. Pronounce the I name, Dr. Paliani.
Good, great, yeah.
Yes, you can hear?
Yeah, sure, loud and clear.
Okay, so give us some final sounds. We're gonna wind down now. But this was an honor. It was a great history that you gave us. Give us some final words to the global family. Let them know how they can contact the eye, how they can other platforms or other places that they can support the eye. We'll have the link. We have the link to the book in the description for this video. So those who watch on the replay, just go down to the description of this video. You click on the link, it'll take you straight to Amazon. Purchase the book, support our guests. Let's try to get at least 5,000 people. Well, we average about 500 views episode. So let's say half, 250. Let's start there. Let's get realistic. If we can get 200 to 250 people to purchase the book, we just want to test the machine and see if the machine will work. So my global family, buy the book. You would not be upset, because if you heard what Dr. Paliani shared, that was just the little taste. The fullness is in the book. So Dr. Paliani, give us your final sound for the global family.
All right, many thanks. Final words, I would say the book has got connections not only between Malawi and Jamaica, it also has connections between Malawi and South Africa, Malawi and Zimbabwe, Malawi and Tanzania, Malawi and England, Malawi and the United States with regards to the history of Rastafari. So the Rastafari movement in Malawi, how it developed, how it grew, or how it grew, rather, there are connections between Malawi and these countries that I've mentioned. So reading this book, you'll be reading about South Africa, you would also be reading about Zimbabwe, you'd also be reading about Tanzania, United Kingdom, and also the United States, just to mention a few. So in a nutshell, what we are presenting in the book is that the early Rastafarians traveled through the early Rastafarians
Yes.
traveled
Right.
and hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear the eye, but I hear a ringing sound.
Okay, there's a ringing sound. Yes, there's a call that is trying to disturb here, but I think I've dealt with it. Yeah, so there were early Rastafarians that traveled or corresponded internationally across these countries. Exchanges occurred mainly through the late 1980s and 1990s, and also the knowledge was shared, locally, and that knowledge shaped the Rastafari as a movement in Malawi. And in concluding, Rastafari in Malawi reflects the local struggle and the global Black consciousness. And the movement demonstrates resilience under repression, the one-party state, particularly from the period 1966 to 1993, when the one-party state fell. And the international connections remain central to the development of Rastafari movement. With those remarks or concluding remarks, that would be the end of my submission, and I thank the Jazz Match Kwasi for honoring me to come forward and have a conversation with you, and also the positive remarks that you have put forward about the book and urging our viewers to make it a point to access a copy of the book. Much appreciated, loved, the jazz match, Kwasi, and keep up the good work
Yes,
that
sir.
you're doing,
Yes, sir.
bringing brethren from all over and Africa in particular to come and share different stories about the struggle of our people, African people. You are doing wonderful work and keep it up. And more blessings to you, the Jazz Mash Kwasi, and also to the
Yes, sir.
viewers who spent their time, stuck around to listen to our story. Big up, many thanks. Remain blessed.
Yes, I and the link is in the comments. I see somebody asking for the link for the book, Humble Music. It's in the comment section. So if you go into the comment section, not the comment section, the description of the YouTube video, the link is there. But you can also just Google History of Ras Tafari in Malawi, and the Amazon link will come up. So it's very easy to find online. We also have another question. Someone asked about Jesse Gender. Was Jesse Gender ever in Malawi?
Yes, correct. Jesse Gender came to Malawi in with J. I need to check. Was he part of the 5 reggae artists in 1997? He should be. If not, then he came in 1999 when there was the first anniversary of the Power 101 FM. It started it started airing on the 1st of October 1998. 1st of October 1999, there was a celebration of the first 8th day of the Power 101 FM. So the radio invited reggae artists from Jamaica, Jesse Gender, Everton Blender, and others to come and perform to celebrate 1 year anniversary of the radio. So Jesse Gender indeed came to perform, and he also remained in the country for a while, and he was a host of a reggae program on 101 FM for a while before he left, and the Ister J remained. And there's also one Jamaican that we will never forget in Malawi, Ibo Cooper, Michael Ibo Cooper of Third World.
Okay, right? that is one of my general too, one of the brethren who really give him a lot of strength in life too.
And I would say he was also an inspiration to me in terms of knowledge, right? And intellectual, to do research on Rastafari. I would say the inspiration to do research and come up with this book, originally, it comes from the inspiration of Michael Ibo Cooper of the Third World. When he came for the first anniversary of 101 FM 1999, he also remained in the country, and he was a host of a program called Clarity, which was like, like the program that Mutabaruka does on 101 FM in JA. Is it Stepping Razor? Is it called Stepping Razor?
He has Stepping Razor, and he has Cutting Edge.
Yes. Cutting Edge, yes. So Ibo started a similar program on FM 101 in Malawi, right? So it was more intellectual, more on Pan-Africanism, Rastafari, intellectual, and was doing quite a lot of research and presenting his findings and sharing with the youth. And he really inspired quite a number of young people, including myself.
I didn't even know that about his journey. I did not know that about his journey. He was a great strength to I when I was doing the Jamaica Music Conference. He was one of the elders who every year would be there over a 10-year period. Anything that we needed, we could call on him, and he would make sure he would do his best, to ensure and put a lot of fire on I and I same way. So we do give thanks for the elder.
Oh yes.
Nick Nakus, who was one of our Lion Pride, said, "Give thanks, brethren. I bought 2 copies." So you get
wonderful.
Yes, at least two sales. That's the Lion Pride on Patreon. And Ubuntu Lion Pride member Nick Nakus. Big up yourself.
Big up.
We are working on our newsletter. So if you want to get our newsletter, Nick Nakus is our member of the quarter. It was supposed to be of the month, but we haven't done a newsletter for so long. He's now the member of the quarter. So Nick Nakus, the newsletter will come out this week. And we also are preparing for our town hall meeting. Join our community. We have a community that we're building of like minds. We're going to be talking about emergency preparedness for the coming food and fuel shortages. We are preparing ourselves as a collective, the Lion Pride. We have one of our members who is going to be sharing information with us that she learned at a conference. So Empress Danielle is going to be coming forward with some information how we can prepare ourselves for this coming crisis due to the closing of the Straits of Hormuz. We know that at a minimum, there's going to be a lot of price increase, a lot of problems, and I need to be prepared. You know what I mean? It is not a joke. It's not a game. It is real Armageddon time now. So all of the theory, we need to park it. We need to build. We need to prepare because Babylon is collapsing and it's going to take as many things as it can with it along the way. So unless you want to go down with Babylon, you have to separate yourself from Babylon. And separation cannot happen without economics. Malawi and Zambia are one. This is our Lion Pride in Zambia. Big up yourself, Ras Kadamawi. Give thanks, reasoning. This is the international Rastafari Pan-African platform. There is none like Untold, Haile Selassie I, and we are his children. This is the Lion Voice Network. We are proud and big up the comment section. I see the reasoning happening in the comment section. Intellectual debate. Pick up yourself, Othello. El said, I wish I could be in there with you, going back and forth, but I have to host the show. But it's so enticing. Also, you know, you have a lot of facts about the church. Make sure you also reference when His Majesty, you know, through the process of autocephaly, separated the Ethiopian church from the Alexandrian church. Giving us a sovereign church in Ethiopia, although we still have white Jesus we are dealing with. But all of them things soon deal with. We soon wipe out white Jesus out of the continent. That's not a worry. But definitely give thanks for the reasoning in the comments, all of the love, because if you notice in the Lion Pride comments, we reason with love and understanding. This is the root of Rastafari where we could disagree. And there's not no name calling, no foolishness. It's just, you know what I mean, reasoning. You give your reason, as Queen Mother Moses say. I give my reasoning. That is the root of reasoning on Rastafari, and we're bringing it forward to the digital space here. Big up yourself, Dr. Paliani, for everything that the I represent and everything that I do. Continue the research. Continue to shine the light of excellence as Rastafari, and all of the global family. Tune in. We will let you know. We have a lot of big guests lined up. Also, before I leave, we are uploading our interview with Ras I, one of our young Rastafari warriors. Make sure the item watch Lion Talk as we bring forward the Rastafari artists and some of our creatives and warriors and thought leaders. You know, that's our pre-recorded version. Ras I, his father's Anaya Bingi elder who passed. Second generation Rastafari, doing some powerful things in music. Check out those episodes. Medicine, we're over 1,000 views on the Medicine episode. Continue to support Medicine, the steady one. We have Dawe Congo on the way. So all the Dawe Congo fans, get ready. We have a Dawe Congo on the way. We have a lot more artists that we're going to be featuring as well on the way. So we are just getting started. Why? Because the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story. And this is...
This is Ras Shiloh. The time has come for the Lions to tell their own story. See? This is the Lion's voice. Keep it locked, right here, sir. Rashilo said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right there, sir.
Yes, job people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
African pride, root of all nations, boy. I tried with the lion, the Rastafari. Lion of it tried with lioness like I do. Empress on the front line, we need you. Well, this is Medicine, the steady one, and you are now tuned in to the Lion's Voice Network. What the lion fought for do? Scorch them. Roast and parch them.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
The time has come for lions to tell our own story. Yes, you're listening to Lion's Voice. I is Ras hailing from the island of St. Croix. Yeah, I'm bringing to your Rastafari vibes. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Babylon born when Rasta come together. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Because Babylon born when I and I come together. Look how we live together, look how we work together, Oh, Babylon don't when Rasta come together. Yeah, like Rastafari, His Majesty and Empress men and bless. Yeah, man, hailing from St. Croix, Rastafari, I hear you.
Aye.
Empress Manel, and I young scientist. Your universally unfold, be told. Blessed love, this is Itege Idama, and it's time for the lioness and the lion's voices to be heard. This is the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
I'm Nana Faraka. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the lion's voice.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.